The fire department received a new grant from AAA to make sure firefighters have the proper equipment to deal with electric vehicle fires and collisions. The grant includes fire blankets, electric vehicle plugs designed to shut the vehicles off, and traffic safety cones. The grant saved the city over $15,000. Green Bay Metro Fire Chief Matthew Knott says the grant helps the department to conserve resources as Northeast Wisconsin sees more electric vehicles on the road.
The best tactic of this is that copious amounts of water that we're going to spend, 4,000 more gallons of water to deal with these. So again, this grant allows us some tools to, like the fire blanket, which will enable us to control a fire in the short term while we get tools and equipment ready.
Chief Knott says the new equipment will also help the department implement new policies to deal with electric vehicle fires in the future.